Top mistakes I made across my first road trips, totaling about 6,000 miles with a Street Glide, Road King, and a Tiger 660. In honor of Motorcycle Awareness Month, I'll be posting twice a week, adding in a Tuesday tip video for the month of May. Here's the first Tuesday tip video. The things I wish I would have known before my first trips. Number one was time. Having a strict schedule and not calculating enough time. If your GPS tells you it's going to take you 8 hours to get from point A to point B, on a motorcycle you take a lot more stops than you do in a car. So for instance, I found that I had to add about 30 and even 40% depending on how long the ride was. A much longer ride would be more like 40% extra time than the GPS would tell me. A shorter ride, say a more like 3 or 4 or 5 hour ride, would be more like 30%. Even if you're taking the highway. For me, I wanted to stop about, I found maybe every hour and a half, less later on in the day, or if I had already been riding for a few days, and I could extend that if it was the start of the road trip or the start of the day. That's probably different for every person, every kind of ride you're taking, and also every bike, especially if you're on a more comfortable bike or if the bike is already modded to be comfortable for you. You may need to stop, not need to stop as much, but yeah, that was my first thing. Everybody I told on my first road trip when I was going to stop to see them, I was late. Usually by at least a day or 2 days, and one person I just had to completely nix out of the trip. My very first road trip, that was 2,000 miles, 6 days on a Harley Street Glide. Had never ridden a bagger on the street before that, just mostly naked bikes. I planned for that trip to be 4 days, and my plan was to just do a lot of highway riding, ride all day for 4 days straight. And I didn't realize that when you're just a commuter and you're a wuss like me, that is very difficult to do. So it ended up being 6 days, and at the end of it, everything hurt. So that's good to know. Time. Number two is doing too much highway, putting kind of tying into time again, but basically prioritizing time over fun. If you want to do an Iron Butt challenge and you want to go as far as fast as possible, then that's a different story. That's great for you. Then you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say. But if you don't, if you just want to have fun, enjoy your trip, for me, that means I discovered only on my third road trip, I discovered that means taking the scenic route, taking as little highway as possible. The scenic route, not only is it slower, so it's quieter, there isn't as much wind buffeting, and it's just so much prettier. So I found that I was able to ride a lot longer because there was less wind buffeting, it wasn't as loud, even though I do always wear earplugs. And it just made for a more enjoyable trip. I found that my body did not hurt nearly as much when I took the scenic route. And yeah, I was slower, but I realized that it was 100% worth it. You're just in a better mood if you're gonna be on a pretty scenic route that isn't beating your body. Number three, last mistake, not that this is I only made 3 mistakes, it's just I'm trying to keep this video short, and I'm sure you all can add some other common mistakes for me down below. But number 3 for me was probably not having a bike set up for my body type and comfort. Now, I did that to myself, and I am doing that to myself, and I'm gonna continue doing that to myself until I find a more road trip friendly bike and I buy my own bike. And then I will mod it to fit me and be more comfortable. For instance, this is not my bike. I am borrowing this Tiger Sport 660 for another road trip. And it's one of the many variety of bikes I'm trying on all these road trips so that I can see what I like. And then also review some more road trip friendly bikes for you. My bike, you can kind of see its wheel, is a Street Triple R 675, and it's not exactly road trip friendly. Sure, I can modify it and do some things to it, but this still has better wind deflection. Actually, the seat is just as hard, but that's okay. Learned my lesson there, but Comfort just helps so much with fatigue and being able to go further and just not have a fully aching body all day. So some of the things I didn't realize were how important your body positioning is. When I did my first 3 road trips on baggers, the handlebars were, I think, probably set up more for an average male height. Like, I think that's 5'10", and I'm 3.75 inches tall. So I was kind of reaching forward a lot on those baggers, and for like 30 minutes or an hour, that's not really noticeable. But across a 10-hour riding day, that gets noticeable and your back really starts to hurt after a while. Cruise control helps so much in just being able to take a hand off and stretch. I was too scared to take both hands off. I don't do that. But having the handlebars closer to me would have helped a lot with backaches. Having cruise control would have been great, which apparently all the bikes I've ridden so far have had cruise control on these road trips, but I didn't realize the Road King had it, so I didn't use it. This Tiger unfortunately does not have it, but I may not need it since I'm going to be taking scenic roads. I won't probably be pinned on one speed for too long. I have heard of people adding like the Risk things. I'll have to try that, and I forget what it's called right now. But another thing is how comfortable the seat is. On those baggers, those things it was like sitting on a couch. It was amazing. Probably like a full day of riding, my butt still felt fine. But I haven't taken this on the road trip yet. I'm doing that soon. Actually, by the time you see this video, I will have taken it on the trip. But after a day of riding with this in the mountains, yeah, my butt was hurting real bad. I was standing on this bike on the freeway at some point towards the end of the day because my butt just hurt so badly. So that would have been great too. And even just being able to move your knees, I found that at least on the baggers that I really could have benefited from some highway pegs. Having a backrest on my 3rd road trip was a huge help, and having more wind deflection, just a higher windscreen also on my 3rd road trip was another huge help helping for fatigue. So basically, if you're not borrowing a bike, if you can swing the accessories, I highly recommend adding as many things as possible for comfort, because if you're spending 10 hours a day, multiple days in a row on something, it's gonna pay to have it comfortable. I'm going to be posting 2 videos a week, so you can watch more of these quick tip videos right over here, and I will see you in the next one.